you mangy dogs. Swab the decks and hoist the sails. The guns on board be needing some proper manning. Pieces of 8 and a fine wench on your arm, if your work be not too shoddy. Be careful not to flounder too badly, though, or you may have to dance the hempen jig as we see you to Davy Jones. Jeffy, my boy, on with the show.
Welcome, everybody, friends, folks, foes, and fellow pirate mateys, to our latest live streaming edition of Pirate Radio Podcasts. It's show segment episode number 357. We are locked and loaded here this week with New Zealand's very own Cliff Rockafella. Before we get to Cliff, though, and all of his particulars, let's remind you that, as always, I myself am your host, trusted companion, Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. WPRPN.com is the website you'll want to drop by, take a look at. Sign up is free. Be sure as well to check out the show description end of things. Among other, well, a few of the ways you can help support us if you appreciate the content we've been producing here over the past, I guess it's almost 10 years now, if you do the math. Patreon and our merch, courtesy of galacticfire.com. Digital love, always appreciated via places such as BitChute, DLive, Odyssey, or what have you. Always encourage people on top of that simply to think outside the box. Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com. That's our PayPal email address, but it also suffices and serves in support of anyone who has any guest suggestions or show ideas that they'd like us to know about. So Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com. Liking, commenting, sharing. Remember to hit subscription notification buttons. Really helps to go a long way, along with passing word on to friends, family, and co-workers. We're here sweating it out, doing our, well, the best we can, given the circumstances and the logistical challenges that we're facing via the digital live streaming Pirate Underground. So, whatever the case, it's good to have you with us here this week. And as we mentioned via the top of the show, our feature guest in the hot seat this go around, locked and loaded, episode number 357 with New Zealand resident Cliff Rockafella. So his interests include music, writing, computers, ancient history, law, psychology, hypnosis, commerce, business, entrepreneurship, and occult, hidden. That's what the word means, in case there's any confusion there. Hidden research. What I myself often refer to as esoteric or esoterica. Born a rebel, the more he understands rebellion, the more he prefers it to the status quo. Anarchy is even a favorite subject. Not rioting in the streets, but rather a pure, non-violent form of true anarchy. The sort which promotes freedom for his fellow man and woman, if they will accept it. Cliff has been a meditator since his late teenage years, and this has opened up a huge amount of adventure. He's also traveled to Egypt and Asia as a means of following up on research. He's appeared as a guest speaker on the odd radio show in both England and America, typically regarding the subject of, you guessed it, folks, anarchy. At the moment, he hosts several research groups on Discord and MeWe. Using voice chat, they essentially become virtual Socratic think tank groups. So, via New Zealand, we're happy to welcome our guest, Cliff Rockafella, to the show. The audio tech check went relatively well. Cliff, if you're able to find that unmute button, we should be ready to go.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks for
Can you hear
taking.
me?
Sure can. Thanks for taking the time, making the effort.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
All right. Well, now you, when I first saw what, as it turns out, is meditator, I thought it read mediator. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh
well,
yeah,
yeah,
entrepreneur, commerce, business, mediation, of
yeah,
course. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, we can get into that at any point you
yeah.
you want to. We do have a number of our regular listeners, audience members who are keen on meditation, which, I mean, as far as I see it, it's so critical from the standpoint of holistic solutions in this world of chaos and
Yes,
as if
totally.
go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, the world is quite chaotic. It's getting more chaotic all the time. We're practically World War III. I mean, it's freaking DEFCON 2. It's been DEFCON 2 for like 3 months. A lot of people don't even know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, go and check it out on the DEFCON site. Yeah.
Hmm.
And last time we had DEFCON 2 was the JFK Cuban Missile Crisis.
Jeez.
And everyone was glued to their TV sets. And yet nobody even knows. I say, hey, it's DEFCON 2. They go, what's that? So, yeah, it's quite chaotic. It's, the propaganda's never been as high. It's getting confusing for people. They've voted for Trump. They thought Trump would save them. Now we got the shadow Trump, the Trump who's funding wars and all that stuff. So nothing's really changed, you know. Like you mentioned to me before, you've researched with Alan Watt in Ontario, in Canada, in Sudbury, who's now passed away, of course. He passed away, and I think what was it, 2022? I think he passed away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went over all Alan Watt's work. I've been over Jordan Maxwell's work. I've been over a lot of people's work over my research history. And mentioning meditation, I actually started meditating in earnest at about 21. I had my 21st, I kicked ass, and then I thought, oh, I just want to give this lifestyle up, like with the name, like I mentioned to you before, Rockafella is not that I'm associated with the Rockafellers. It's just that I was a musician. I played rock music, and that was my handle online, and it just stuck. And so, I used to be a bit of a party animal too. So, but anyway, so I quit all that, and I just wanted to change my lifestyle. So I got into meditation, which is fascinating. A lot of people uh, that have managed to clear their mind. That's the real key, is that if you can clear your mind of mind chatter, then you're well on your way. It'll unlock your mind, you could say. And when you want, oh, sorry. Yep.
Oh, I was just going to ask you what techniques you practice.
You could call it transcendental or TM, because transcendental meditation is transcending thought, right? So a transcending thought means that you eliminate thought, so the best way to do it, quite simply, is you get a dark room, get in your bedroom or whatever. You don't need to sit in a lotus position. You just got to get comfortable, put some pillows behind you, get in a dark room, get a candle and put a candle there, because you want to have something to focus on. This is the key to do it just manually, right? And then what I did was I put little foam earplugs in my ears, because you want to isolate noise and all that when you're practicing, And so anyway, if you keep doing this for a few months, you'll find that you let go of your thoughts. It'll click into place, right? So,
go ahead. That's just a
and
Telegram booting up. No worries.
okay. And so once you let go of thoughts, and that you will click into place. It is a definite click. You'll
Mm-hmm.
click into place. Once you do that, you can sit in that transcendence, or what they call samadhi. Samadhi, it's Sanskrit.
Ah.
Right, samadhi, which is total bliss, right? And because it's a deep, deep, deep relaxation, you can use another thing from hypnosis as well, called fractional induction. And a fractional induction is, while you're looking at the candle, whatever, you can relax your toes and your feet and your ankles and your legs and up the body, and piece by piece, until you totally relax the body, because the mind and the body are connected. So if you
Mm-hmm.
relax the body, you can relax the mind. So once I did that, I was pretty happy with that, and I definitely knew I'd done it, right? Because you definitely can feel the difference. So anyway, and this led me on to this Carl Jung thing that we can talk about at some stage, where I had massive synchronicity. This word synchronicity,
Mm-hmm.
which is like it's a meaningful experience to the person that is coinciding with what you'd thought about. You think of something, that it appears. You think about something, the phone rings. Everyone's had this spontaneously. So for me, it was just like people appearing that shouldn't be appearing, major synchronicity. Like, what the hell are you doing here? That type of thing. And it was incredible. So that inspired me into um, finding Carl Jung, and
Mm-hmm.
this is like early 20s, right? So he was the man to start researching. I was always into hypnosis and the subconscious mind, even as a teenager, before meditation. Because like the subconscious mind is 80% at least of the mind that we don't even use, or that we don't consciously use, right? Where 20% of the mind is what we call the ego mind. That's the conscious mind, right? The beta state, the fast wave of stress and vigilance. So there's books been put out by Napoleon Hill. Some of you have heard of that. He wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a classic book. And so the secret in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, was meditation.
Really?
Yeah. So then there was a follow up by another guy called Talk and Grow Rich, and that was a very inspiring book. And he got right into the meditation too.
Was that
So
Napoleon Hill, Talk and Grow Rich, or a different fellow?
different guy. I can't remember his name. I'd have to go and get the book, but you
So,
can look it up.
so have you? Has it helped you
Yeah,
in
yeah,
those ends, growing rich?
yeah. Well, yeah. I
You
mean,
are
what
you
is
are a
rich?
Rockefeller after all. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, what is rich? I mean, that's a whole thing in itself.
or success.
Materialism.
That's a big one. I've been
Yeah,
reflecting on.
success. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to me, richness is success. It means do you get what you want in life? And do you? I mean, for me, it was, I want knowledge, I want experience. So I'm not poor, but I'm not exactly a millionaire. So, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't really care to be. I just want to know what the hell I'm doing here, because obviously not many people know really the truth of why we're here.
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah. And in that sense, the two of us are actually on a similar path. Not exactly the
Mhm.
same one. No two people are, presumably, but
Sure.
similar. I think we're both seekers to some extent, and both musicians as well too. So let's hear a little bit
Sure.
more about that end of your, your personal story,
Yeah.
and how did that all play out?
What, with the music,
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah. Well,
why have you taken a bit of a break? 'Cause stepping back from it is
Uh,
really.
yeah, I'll answer that first. Yeah, well, I mean, because I live in Auckland, okay, and so Auckland used to have in the day, which was like the 1990s, because I'm like 51 this year,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've lived a bit of a life, but I'm quite healthy. I feel fucking 30, I'm very healthy. So and that I put to meditation. So yeah, so I was a hardcore musician. We played a lot of rock music. I play guitar. I do a little backup vocals. I can play bass. I can play a bit of drums, a little bit of keyboard.
Nice.
So I can do, but my main thing's
Right
guitar, right?
on.
So I played a lot of lead guitar. I love all the guitar bands of flamenco, fucking, everything. And so, but we had a Black Sabbath band. We had
Ah,
that type of thing because people love Black Sabbath. And then I learned later in life that all the vocals that Ozzy used to write was the truth. Go and look at the album Masters of Reality. I mean, there's a lot of songs on there that are telling you a lot of truth.
what?
Um,
Oh, I see.
you know what I mean? And
But
War Pigs.
Ozzy had a hand. I was actually just researching this the other day. I guess he had a bit of a hand. You're right in the lyrics, but I think it was gosh, who was their guitar player?
Tony Iommi. Tony
Yeah,
Iommi. Yeah,
he
Tony
was the
Iommi
guy.
did.
Well, and there's
Yep.
that troll trippy story with the that book on black magic that someone gave to Ozzy. That Ozzy's like, I'm not into this sort of thing. Like, and then he
Yep.
gave it to Tony. Is that right? Do you know that famous story? And then just a short
Yeah.
time after that, there was this black spectral figure that appeared at the end of Tony's bed.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
quick,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude. This
Mm.
was a book of like 15th or 16th century
Yeah.
magic, and you could even go so far as maybe to say black magic. Apparently, it had once been owned by none other than, you guessed it, Alistair. Let's get the pronunciation right now, kids. Crowley. It rhymes with holy, so holy moly, it's Alistair Crowley. And
Yeah.
speaking of which, it's interesting, Black Sabbath, Mr. Crowley, even they
Yeah.
got it wrong, I guess. But it wouldn't sound Mr. Crowley. It sounds better when you mispronounce it in that context. So just
Sure.
blame Ozzy and Black Sabbath for,
Yeah. I
you know,
remember.
misguiding everyone with the pronunciation.
I remember Robert Anton Wilson. He's another
Mm-hmm.
occultist. He
Yes,
mentioned that too. He
right.
said you got to pronounce it as Crowley.
That's
His
right.
friends called him Crowley, and his enemies called him Crowley. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, a lot of these bands were into the occult because they're it's esoteric, like you said.
Oh,
It's
you are too, of
writing music.
course, and
Oh,
to
of
some,
course.
what does it
Mm.
mean? Well, I think we made it clear in the introduction there, and based
Mm.
on the bio, info you
Yeah,
offered us, and you've been hip to this for some time. It's just hidden,
hell yeah.
as you said, like the unconscious. I didn't know this.
Mm.
You seem very well read and researched, a lot better than myself. What is it? Do you say
Yep.
80%? It's like an
Yeah,
iceberg, guys. 80% of
that's
our
it.
real consciousness, our mind,
Yes,
is kind of submerged in
yes,
the unconscious.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And I mean that's a huge subject. I mean, and we could talk a lot
Mm,
about it because I mean we're getting into the Carl Jung territory, but we're also getting into other people like Max Neumann. We're getting into other psychologists through history.
haven't heard of
There's
him. Max Neumann. Who was he?
yeah. Well, he wrote his big book was called the Birth of Consciousness. People can look it up. It's called the
Okay.
Birth of Consciousness. So consciousness for humanity had a birth date. A lot of people don't know that. So, humanity and its psyche has changed over thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, just as a cursory, the interesting thing is you'll find people use the word myth. Oh my, oh, it's just a myth. It's a myth. Well, if you get into the depth psychology, that's what the banner is. It's called depth psychology of the unconscious or the
Mm.
collective unconscious is to do with the symbolic, mythical, symbolic symbols down through history, right? And so myth in psychology is psychology. Myth is psychology. So mythical symbols is psychology. An example being that anyone that's studied ancient history can see that there was the cross and the circle, right? You go back, you've seen the documentaries, so they go, oh, look, we found in a cave, and they see the cross and the circle, right? And then we go through history and we see the cross and the circle everywhere. In the medieval times, they had the cross and the circle, and we still have it today. And so that's a very powerful symbol, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we could go into that at some stage. It's quite a deep thing. We'd have to introduce Carl Jung stuff, But the pyramids, it involves the pyramids is connected to the cross. The Jesus on the cross symbol is to do with that, of course. The serpent in the cross is another
Yeah.
one.
Why did the Bible never mention the pyramids?
Uh,
They
it's
were
a good.
around. Were
Well,
they
they
built after the Old
well they
Testament?
do
Or?
mention they do mention it, but it's more to do with uh, the temple in the middle, the pyramid and the temple in the
Mm,
middle, because it was sort of those big pyramids were placed in technically what they call the middle of Egypt. It isn't really, but that's how they kind of related to it.
yeah.
So in the Bible, it's to do. I can't remember the verse, but it's to do with that they were in the middle of Egypt. So
Oh,
pyramid is pyra is fire, like
yeah.
a pyromaniac, and mid is in the middle, so it means fire in the middle.
How about that, eh? Fire in the belly.
Fire in the belly, yeah. The solar plexus. The
As
solar
above,
is the sun.
that's right. It's
Right.
as above, so
Yeah.
below, as within, so without.
Yeah.
And so, oh, uh,
Yeah.
so many very deep and profound, just
Yeah.
talking points that we could touch on here. What I
You
was going to
know,
ask you though about the
it'll be fun.
pyramids, now that we're on the subject, is
Hmm.
these recent discoveries. Kafir, I guess the pyramid Kafir. Not only that, but the whole bloody uh, Giza plateau. It's all there are subterranean caverns and tunnels
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
run who knows how deep exactly, but
Mm.
it's I look at it in the context of the apocalypse, honestly. I really do.
Mm. Hmm.
And that's not necessarily in a bad way either. I guess it's bad for the people of Gaza, clearly,
Mm.
and maybe
Mm.
the people that are dying in the Ukraine
Mm.
and places in
Mm.
Russia, and the way that we're
Yep.
having this whole scamdemic nonsense that was forced upon the world
Jim, Jim.
via the Club of Rome. And so we're going to
Yeah.
have you unpack that here in just a few moments,
Yeah.
hopefully. And
Yep.
before we do that, though, I'm just going to jump in and ask that careful. I'm not sure if you have a headset on or
Yep.
what. It's maybe just the boom mic or I'm not sure what the deal is, but it seems to be moving around a lot, and it's like somebody's playing with the boom mic. So getting a little too overly excited there, Cliff. To settle down, tone it down, settle down. So yeah, but but from the pyramids and what potentially could just imagine. I mean, Edgar Casey, didn't he say it was around this time that at the foot of the Sphinx that there would be the Hall of Records would be discovered? So I think that's how we put it. So
Yeah.
incredible, though. I'm not sure if
Edgar
you've
Casey.
investigated.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah. I've heard of Edgar Casey. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, he did predict things. Yeah. Well, I mean, the seals. I mean, that is in the apocalypse. The in the um, end times, or what they call the end times, which is the end of the aeon, right? All of this stuff in the Bible is the end times, end of the aeon. Aeon is age. Aeon means age, right? Crowley talked about the aeon, right? Carl Jung talked about the aeon. In fact, he wrote a book called Aeon. And so it's to do with the change of the ages. Now we're getting into astrology.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a lot of people know, we're moving into the age of Aquarius from Pisces, and so the change of the ages.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes up a lot in a lot of studies. Is yeah, we're in a massive transition. This is why there's so much at stake at the moment with the world.
Mm.
So when you talk about the seals, you're talking about this. They pop off the seals. People have heard that in the different apocalyptic stories. Like there was an old movie called Thief in the Night in
Uh-huh.
1972, and it was a three-part movie series you could download for free. It's very biblical, but it's very symbolic. And it's to do, it's got the rapture and people disappear and all that. But it's got the United Nations coming in, taking over and controlling everybody and coming in with Noahide laws and cutting their heads off if they don't convert to atheism,
Not
which is,
Judaism.
well, no, atheism really, because they're putting in this movie, they're putting a chip in their head, they're putting barcodes on their head, all that type of stuff, which is tied up into it too. So
Well,
yeah, it's really an
incredible.
atheist.
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
as we see the rise of the technocratic, the technokraken, hashtag technokraken as we refer to it, and we're forever on the lookout here for the technokraken via these high, often all too intrepid digital seas. Before we get into that uh, a little more, however, and just to remind you of, I guess it's the boom mic. Careful, we can do what we can to stabilize that. Roger Hansen, shout out to Roger, along with all the other lurkers that have yet to sign in via the chat live streaming end of things. Good to have you on board, Roger. If he says it was when Jesus was born, I'm out of here. Roger is quite a guy. Actually, he's all right in our books, definitely. So archetypes. I'm not sure what he's referring to if he says it was when Jesus was born. Give us a little more context there, if you would, please, Roger. It's Jolly Roger Hansen. Yeah, who sometimes joins us during the weekly World Pirate Radio News live streams we put together here at the same time, actually, Tuesday nights via the Americas. Of course, for us, you're aware of where I'm based out of, right?
You're talking to me? Yeah.
Yeah, not New Zealand.
Where who's based at? Where you're based at?
Myself, yeah. Or,
I'm not too sure. Is it South Korea or you're
yeah,
just
yeah, right.
broadcasting?
Yeah, South
Oh,
Korea,
okay.
correct. So
Oh,
we're, I mean, essentially similar time zone. It's for us. It's Saturdays here, and for the folks back in the West, it's Friday nights. We're living in the future, Cliff. How about that?
yeah, yeah.
Eh?
So it's okay. We're gonna live for the future for now.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
what do you say? And yeah, he shared a link on Tony Iommi. Thank you, Roger. And once again, that story is just really trippy. That ancient, book of black magic. The story goes went first to Ozzy from some fan presented to him. Ozzy said, you know, I've got no use for this. It means nothing to me, and then passed it on to Tony, who took it into his possession. And then a short time after that, there was a this really dark figure that appeared at the foot of his bed. Have you ever seen anything um what you would regard as the paranormal or um otherworldly things of that sort
Yeah.
which you can't really explain in a
Well,
rational
yeah.
sense?
I've seen two different types of UFO that were strange.
Huh.
I've the occult side of the spirit forces. I've had Ouija board spirits smash glasses.
Oh my
I've
god.
things like
Oh,
that. Yeah.
dude, do you mess
Yeah.
around with the Ouija?
This was years ago when I was like, I don't know, teenager maybe,
Young, dumb, and full of
young,
rum.
dumb, and yeah,
Full of rum.
exactly. So yeah, don't mess with Ouija boards; they're
Oh
crazy.
jeez, man. So it flew, did it fly across the room or what
Yeah,
happened?
yeah, it did. Yeah, because my bro, or my brother's dead now, but my bro, he was quite hard case, and we would consciously get this like shot glass because you just need something like a shot glass, and you can make a Ouija board. It's pretty easy. And we were consciously looking at our fingers. There were a couple other guys in the room, and we were consciously looking at our fingers, and they weren't pushing hard on the glass, and it was freaking moving around. So there's something to it. And then it flew off the table and smashed. So there's something to it. And it freaked us out. I wouldn't do it
Uh,
again.
Did you ever listen to any Art Bell?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, a
So
little
the
bit.
big thing that I've yet to get to the bottom of, similarly, as with respect, we've done a little better on the how did Alan Watt pass away because he kept that really quiet and close to the chest. I think he knew he was sick for some time, perhaps. And he had a live-in girlfriend too, who's now taken over his in
Yeah.
maintaining his legacy. So,
Well,
but
that's debatable, eh? That's a big controversy.
oh,
I mean,
really?
I'm in the I knew DBS. I've on my on my YouTube channel, which is just Cliff Rockefeller, right? If you
Right?
look it up. So my YouTube channel's got tons of stuff that people will like that I've found over the years. I've
Okay.
uploaded, and I'll keep uploading new things as long as YouTube doesn't delete them, And if they do delete them, it'll be on my BitChute. So I've got a BitChute, Cliff Rockafella, and that's got good stuff. I've got selected works from Alan Watt where I've made videos and pictures with his talk, so you can actually see what he's talking about. There's some very good videos I've made there.
Oh, so you
Mm.
added it like a slideshow to
Yeah,
complement. I'm
yeah.
looking right now for your social media links. I'm not sure. I don't see any. Oh, there's the YouTube. Sure. I don't even know if we're subscribed yet. Let's check this out. So, but continue. So you're saying that it's contentious whether he had a live-in girlfriend and that she was
Yes. Yeah.
heir to the cutting through the matrix legacy or not? What's the story there?
Yeah.
What's the
Well,
what's
I personally don't think it was true. I think that someone's come in and has taken over because he was very isolated. He had couple of sisters, I think,
uh-huh.
and so I'm the Alan Watt tribute group in Facebook
Hmm.
that has people that are close to Alan Watt and all that. They're posting pictures and all that. And I've talked to Deb S, who was close to Alan Watt. Deb S on YouTube posted all of his shows.
Mm.
And now she's shut down a lot of them because she has got in a tizzy with this new woman that's appeared,
Yeah.
his wife, supposedly, which he never said he had a wife because he said that people asked him about that. And he said, well, women want security. And so he said, I can't give women security when I'm doing what I'm doing. So in other words, he said, I don't have a wife. He had his dog, Hamish,
Mm.
remember? And then Hamish died and all that.
No,
So
I
that
didn't hear
so
about
I
Hamish dying. Like I was really worried about him
yeah.
though, because I thought it got to the point, and I thought because I hadn't listened to him for a while, and I was turned on to him back in 2007, probably at least 2007, right back when he started in the early
Right on.
days, and his beautiful dog Hamish, and you could tell he was they had quite a bond, obviously, and I was just worried how for his well being in the event of his dog's eventual passing, where things would go with him from that point on. What can you tell us anything more about that? I was not aware. Like,
Yeah.
what are the specifics?
Well, yeah, I mean Hamish died, not
Mm,
not too long before that Alan Watt passed away as well. And
really?
it's true that Alan Watt was getting like flu viruses and things like that. He ended up in hospital. He talked about this on his show.
Mm,
And and all that, which is, you could say, well, why did he do that? He wouldn't trust hospitals, but if you get sick, and
you don't have any choice.
that's also, yeah, and it's also evidence that if he had a wife, wouldn't she take care of him so he wouldn't go to hospital? So you got to look at the evidence of the facts of what people do, not what they say. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I was not aware of her playing the role of the wife so much as like maybe a live-in girlfriend that he secretly kind of or discreetly rather, I guess would be a better word, brought on board. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, it's possible, but I mean, I'm not there. I don't know. I can only go on what I've heard. But all I can
mhm,
say is that there's dodgy stuff going on there, and
yeah.
there usually is when you mess around with this stuff. It's a trait
Well,
of people in this type of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the proverbial, uppercase, they attempted to recruit him. Is how the story goes. He that's what he claimed at least, and this would have been the Rockafellers and Club of I think not. I'm not sure if it said Club of Rome. It was just they. Do you know much more detail than how they tried to sway him into kind of joining forces with the dark side?
And swaying who? Sorry.
I think it was either the Rockefellers, one of their offshoots, a think tanks.
Yeah. Well, how it works is simply this. How it works is simply this. That he who makes the money makes the rule. I mean, you and I can't print money; they can.
Golden
And
rule.
so,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So they combine law and money. Money and
Hmm.
law go together. And so,
With the
I mean,
rule and the force of the gun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But they do it with a lawful, legalistic fashion.
Big difference though. Though I have to hold you to task on that. lawful and legal, not always necessarily one and the same. In fact,
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So
That's right.
yeah, and that's the thing is like, for example, COVID, which I guess the scamdemic, uh, was it? It may have been legal to some extent, but was it lawful? And
Yeah.
did many questions that
Yeah, well, legal means shit. It really means shit. I could make something legal by getting mass consent. So legal means consent on the public record. Period. That's what it means. So if I bamboozle the public and say, "Hey, public," including the government, say, "Hey," I mean, obviously they're going to know more than the Joe public, right? But if I say, "Hey, public, can I do this?" at a low level and they say, "Yeah, you can do that," I'll say, "Cool, now it's legal," right?
or you don't
Now,
even have to put them on notice. You just do it. Look at how with the
no,
Federal Reserve System.
you'd have to do notice. That's important. That's my point. So when I say, "Hey, public, can I do this?" I'd have to post public notice. And so in law, I mean, I spent 10 years studying commercial law.
Hmm.
That's the particular law I learnt.
Okay.
And I got into that via Jordan Maxwell. He
Oh.
actually put me onto that because he got into the law thing like you wouldn't believe. So I learnt American law. I've studied New Zealand law, British law. I'm studying a lot of Canadian law at the moment with people. So, I keep my head in the game, and you got to. So I used lawful and legal remedies with COVID, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about because they're trying to push this COVID narrative again, covertly. They'll sneak it in here and there, like the masks, like the slight lockdown here and there. And the people aren't aware of it and they just comply because Big Brother and the media said so. So yeah. So
Sure.
what? So in COVID in New Zealand, we got pretty hammered, like everywhere else, like Australia too. They got hammered even worse. But people challenged in Australia. People challenged the COVID narrative in the courts, and they won. And they got a lot of compensation for that, and that was published. So the people fought back, and they fought back here too in New Zealand. They protested in Parliament. That's a whole story in itself. Um, but that made it clear to the public media, which is privately owned and governmental controlled, always, right? And so, Alan Watt showed us that. So,
Unless you're live streaming via the digital, virtual airwaves, pirate underground, it's a little different story. I guess what you're referring to, of course, is the mainstream, the Mockingbird, the corporate
yeah,
media.
exactly. Yeah, the corporate media. So anyway, so a lot of people fought back and won, and so we did it. And I didn't wait around. And as soon as it happened, it took 2 weeks for it to when they started really locking people down and shutting down businesses. I thought there's one of two things going to happen. This is the first 2 weeks, right, of it happening. I thought they're either going to spray us and kill us, so I got 2 weeks to live.
Hmm.
Now, if they're not going to spray us and kill us with their chemtrails, then it's a con, right? It's probably one or the other. And then it took me 2 weeks to figure out it was a con. And I thought, yeah, there's more and more evidence it's a con. It's full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, what's the bet they're going to use the vax to make people sick? And now we find out the
Yeah,
vax is making people sick, right?
that's right.
Yeah, all you got to do is go and research it. So anyway, so this was quite predictable. And so I didn't wait around for um, them to steamroll me into this stuff. So everything they tried to do, I rebelled against,
Mm.
being the anarchist, and I did it legally and lawfully. Like they lock you down, I go for a ride. I go with my mate. I got pulled over too. Got pulled over by a cop, and I
Mm.
was ready for him. And I didn't even need to give him my license. I just gave him a business card and said, "I'm here. I actually said I'm doing a photo shoot for safety." In that case, it's safety because I love that word, safety, right?
Yeah.
So he didn't know what to do with that. So I said, "Is that okay?" He goes, "Okay." He was quite a wuss. So I was like, "Okay," and I'm on my way. So that didn't work. And
Photo
then
shoot for safety, but how would that manage
because
to convince them?
because I'm promoting safety gear, I'm promoting safety gear, right?
Uh,
So that was good enough. I know that's what I mean. All you need to do in law, right? In law is to give a response, and if you've got a substantive response, which is substance always beats hearsay. So what's hearsay? Hearsay is viva voce. That's you saying, "Hey, I heard something. I heard something, or I said this and he said that." That's just hearsay. But if I produced you a document, and a document means enlighten, a document is just enlighten me. So if I produce a document that's substantive that you can hold in your hand with links to whatever substance, I have the upper hand. And this was the key thing that worked with mask exemptions. So there was a little group in New Zealand that printed physical legal mask exemptions, which is just a piece of cardboard that says I'm exempt. So technically you didn't need it, but it had a website address to a government department. And so that gave it some teeth, right? And it was legit. It was from a government department. And so there was a loophole there that said that if you don't consent to wearing a mask, this is really what it was. If you don't consent to wearing a mask, you can state legally that you have the right not to by saying I'm exempt for whatever reason, right? So if they were to push you and try and torture you, you could say, hey man, I get anxiety when I wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and when I get anxiety, I turn into a rabid animal, and I'm known to kill people.
What about
So please don't
hypoxia?
do that. Yeah, hypoxia, but I mean, yeah, you could use that as an excuse. Yeah, for sure.
Well, excuse or reason? There's a difference, isn't there? And by the way,
Well,
for audience members out there not clear on hypoxia, it's when you're not you're not taking in clean air. You're just recycling the carbon dioxide. I guess is that right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
Mask.
there's a lot of common things you could do, and reason and excuse is to be excused, right? If it's successful, and so and reason is that the reason is the success of the law. Like law is created by reason, right? So reason is the big stick that you can wave to create case law. Like when they go and debate it in the courts, you are using your reason. See, we live in a meritocracy. You have to have merit to get jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is right of control on anything. So using the word jurisdiction is a good word to use and learn because it's a right of control. Who has jurisdiction here? Now, if the idiot doesn't have control and he's faking it, I'm going to demonstrate jurisdiction that he don't have. See, so jurisdiction's a good word. A lot of people hear it and go, oh, that sounds important, but they don't know what it means. But when you act like you know what it means and you follow through, you create your reality.
Seems
You know?
to the prefix etymologically the root related to the term jury, obviously, and maybe justice. I'm not sure if Jew is dovetails anyway, but perhaps
Yeah,
Jew or jur.
we used to joke. We used to joke about it because you think about this. You got jurisdiction right on the face of it, but then now,
Jurisdiction.
yeah, jurisdiction, jurisdiction,
Ah ha 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 ha.
or Jew restriction because it sticks to you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Geez, that's a great bumper sticker. So that has to get almost certainly get you pulled over at some point, I'm sure. So yeah, Jew restrictions like you can't. I'm offended.
Yeah.
It's gonna offend. It's potentially offensive. Yeah. So,
But anyway,
anyways, so is there
so
anything more you'd like to say? I mean, we could have a whole show on COVID.
I know, I know.
Alone.
Yeah, well,
Clearly.
we'll make it quick. So yeah, so if they bring it back, I'm trying to get across because a lot of people don't want to wear the freaking mask because it's like, that's part of your compliance. You're a slave now. You got to wear a
Yeah.
mask. So you know what I mean. So it's
Oh.
like, so all you got to do is you could even make your own, and I can maybe give you a copy to put on your website or something.
Okay, would love it. Yeah,
Of
print it out.
so you've got a demonstration of what exemption means. So, but the key issue was simply this: people were coming to me on my Discord, like hundreds of people, because they got wind that I knew what I was doing, and I had my ear to the ground with the lawyers in New Zealand, etc. So they were going, why am I getting arrested when I've got this quote unquote legal exemption card from a government department? They're still getting arrested by the cops. They were thrown into the cop car. Then the cop goes and drops them off down the street.
Ah,
He does. He doesn't charge them, and he doesn't
so
really
are
arrest
they
them.
being detained or arrested?
No, they were just taken away from the crime scene. Yeah.
The
So
scene of no crime. The
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah. Of no crime, but that's their idea of crime scene. So,
incredible.
anyways,
So
yeah,
could the police and I heard a lot about that in the news too. I was because I followed it. Unlike unfortunately, if more people would have paid closer attention, and I could have done better myself, but there's a lot of people who just went along with everything, no questions asked, and that's really that plays right into their hands. Unfortunately, these people at the highest levels, the Club of Rome, and that's where this whole plan was hatched. Even going back so far as Bertrand Russell through injection, injunction, and diet. The whole
yeah,
grand eugenics scheme,
yeah,
population control,
yeah,
injection, experimental, and
yeah.
it was so rushed. And for what? There's no reason. It's all fear porn. Like were our friends dropping dead? Were our family members? Were the children? No, they're probably working on something where they can make that happen now. But one of the points here is that we fought our forebears for freedom, as memory serves. World War One, Two, Vietnam, here in Korea, Canadian bloodshed on this soil. So I take that kind of personally, as far as rights are concerned, and lefts too. But so easily, were so quick to surrender and hand over their rights and
They're
freedoms.
rights.
It was,
That's right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, under fear and control. Fear, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And then, hey, we're here to save you.
yeah,
It's the same old song and dance. But hey, let's read that quote because it's worth quoting.
sure.
So Bertrand Russell said, quote, diet, injections, and injunctions will combine from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that the authorities consider desirable, and any serious criticism of the powers that be will become psychologically impossible. This is what we have today. Even if it even if all are miserable, all will believe themselves happy because the government will tell them that they are so. Right? Don't worry, be happy, or hey, own nothing and be happy.
That's
Right?
There you go. That's right. You will own nothing and be happy, and you will own nothing. That's the communism. That was the end goal to Marx's vision. And I guess there are some people who talked about him being a Rothschild agent. Actually, he wasn't too far, as far as the bloodlines and blood relations. That the way
Yep.
and his role
So
in history. But anyways,
So let's try and stay on point because I want to, as I said, I want to get so people understand how to use a mask exemption. So that you understand what the police were faking it. You did not get charged anyway, so you will not get charged, and they will not change this because they cannot change it because it's unlawful. And these guys that run the world are legalistic because they believe in the laws of karma and all that stuff. That's another story for later. So anyway, so this is the loopholes. They got loopholes for themselves, right? So what people did is they would hold out this mask exemption and they get arrested. Now, why did they get arrested? It is simple. They opened their mouth, right? They weren't confident in the legal substance that was the card.
uh huh.
And so I said to these people, keep your mouth shut and hold it out and look at the person trying to attack you and say, what are you going to do? That's all you need to say. You hold in front of their face. I'd say nothing. I'd just hold in front of their face and look at them. And as soon as I did that, they don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do say something, what are they going to say? Because I'm waiting. And if they're going to say something, it's going to be hearsay, isn't it? It's not going to be substantive. So that was what worked every time, in every store, in every way, right? That's how that works. So get onto it, people. Get a mask exemption. Look it up. If they're on the internet, like I said, I'll send you a copy. You can post it.
Now,
So,
now they're ramping up. We got this digital ID was what we tried to focus on with this past week's um, World Pirate Radio News show, and just to to really reinforce in public consciousness, doing what we could to remind people that this is critical stuff. The digital IG, with the whole biometric system, social credit, scoring, of course, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure you probably have been looking into this digital ID. I've had to
Yes.
submit to. It cost me $800. Eventually, they fined me because it took me years before I finally went into immigration and submitted my under duress. Now I did state that, and they got said back to me that they on that day had learned a new term. They'd never had anyone come in up to that point and talk about uh, legal duress, or kind of, you could unlawful duress, I guess. However, the phrasing. What how would you put it? What would be the best in situations such as that? Legal duress or
Yeah.
unlawful
Well,
duress?
for sure. I mean, it is a fine line. We can talk about that. Yeah. I mean, duress goes into, see, what people need to know is that in the system that we have, silence is consent. It's called tacit acquiescence. You can look it up. Tacit acquiescence. And there's another part in the action of law that's called tacit procuration, which is really procuration. What's curation? Curation in law means time. So what does that mean? Well, a contract in time is binding. It takes 3 days to make a contract to cure, right? So procuration. So tacit procuration means that you allow someone to mess around with your paperwork, your affairs, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
step up to the plate, right? And tacit acquiescence is a broad term for that you acquiesce by your silence, right? So when they say to you, "Oh, I took the fifth," or your silence rights, or and we've got that in New Zealand too, and oh, we've got to change something that people are not speaking. They want to use a Bill of Rights not to talk. Well, that ain't going to save you, because the system, the way it's set up, is they will use your um, non-response as consent by tacit acquiescence. And so you go, well, how the hell did they do that? Well, uh, they're going to go, what are they going to do? Well, every time that a government person sees you, they're going to say, and they're interested in you, they're going to say, what is your name? Hey, every single time. The judge is going to ask for your name. I mean, even Bill Clinton, when he was at court, we all knew who he was, and they said, just for the record, what's your name? So what they say that, because the record is the legal manifestation of the record. Record is legal.
Is it all
Legal is the record.
contractual
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
from top
But
to
it's
bottom,
but
inside out? It's all
it,
contractual.
it is, but there's hidden contracts. There's hidden contracts, and there's hidden little things that people don't know. There's in rem jurisdiction. I was going to get to in rem jurisdiction is to do with the birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents signed off to create a straw man, and the straw man is the birth certificate with the all caps name that you go and open a bank account with as government ID and all the rest. And then you put all the trinkets on. You put on the license. You put on the social number. You put on the frickin' passport. You put on all these things. So when you know how the system works with its in-rem jurisdiction, that once that they have that birth certificate on file, you can't get rid of it. You can try and send the birth certificate back, and you can say, I don't want this anymore, and they don't care because they've got legal title. The
How is it
government has legal title.
legal title? How is it that people were able to travel internationally so freely for so long before passports were introduced? Do you know much about that?
I haven't really looked into that, but the assumption would be simple that the people were free on a lot of things. I mean, you could travel without a license, you could own a gun without a license, you could do whatever without a license. And now all of a sudden we're covered in these bloody paperwork of license,
Mm-hmm.
which is turning a right into a privilege, right? It's turning a
Mm-hmm.
right into a privilege. Now, how do they do it? Because some fall, and even my dad would say this. He'd say, "Oh, other people ruin it for everyone else," which is a real shallow and lazy way of looking at it. Because when someone does something stupid in the public and hurts another person, say, is the classic thing. Oh, he's harming me, he's hurting me. We're going to make a new law. This is how these things are created, and so sometimes what they do is, of course, with a false flag, right? Some idiot goes out and shoots people,
Yep.
and they say, right, we're going to go and ban all the guns. Well, that's called collective punishment. That's socialism 101. You were a good guy. Why should you be punished for some other fool? Now you're talking about the constitutional republic of individual rights. So a lot of people don't know democracy is socialism, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even Alan Watt talked about
There's a
that.
lot of talk
Yeah,
about that, and it actually
right.
now that's uh, Jewish Bolshevism. Now it goes, of course, democracy goes back even further to the days of ancient Rome. Was it socialist even at that time, or was it during the Bolshevik Revolution where it took on a completely new shape all on its own, a new character and magnitude,
Well, like Alan Watt said,
functionality?
I mean, a lot of people have listened to Alan Watt, but
Yep.
if you've gone over thousands of talks like I have,
Mm.
you'll want to kill yourself because it's horrible. But
Ah.
if you make it, but if you make it through, you'll be knowledgeable, right? And so he said that the republic, democracy, and dictatorship, three parts, maybe four, is a formula. And he said Plato talked about it. They had the republic, Plato's
Mm.
republic,
Hmm.
and Plato talked about democracy. And you can go and look at the quotes. Type into Google Plato quote democracy,
Yep.
and you'll see he says democracy is mob rule,
The
right?
worst form
And he
of
says,
government is what he
yeah,
claimed. So
that's right. And he says democracy always ends in anarchy, which is what? Bolshevism. So, and when I say anarchy, I'm not talking about a wise anarchistic type of thing where you have individual rights and you have no ruler, because that's what anarchy means.
yeah, no ruler.
Individual rights, which really means an intelligent anarchy means that do unto others as you want done unto you, right? I'm
Non-aggression
not going to
principle as well.
yeah,
We hear a lot about.
non-aggression principle. Exactly. And so Mark Stevens of the No State Project, that was in the heyday when I was in the anarchy thing. I was with Mark Stevens. I did a show with Mark Stevens. I've met Mark Stevens many times. With the COVID thing came out, he kind of went on the back burner. He had a lot of problems and it kind of dissolved. And anarchy sort of went down the tubes with it. A lot of the guys in the commercial law movement were put in jail unjustly,
Wow.
illegally, and unlawfully. Yeah.
What
I've seen
about,
people.
okay, Vinny Eastwood? Did you follow his story?
I know Vinny Eastwood. Yeah, Vinny Eastwood
Yeah.
lives up the road from me. Yeah, I
Well,
know him
I mean, you
personally.
sound like you're a dead ringer for the guy. That your vocal. I'm not sure what timbre, I guess you could say. So yeah, the resonance, and of course the two of us both being musicians to one extent or the next, vibration and frequency are something that yeah, we're really well attuned to. So hopefully, not too flat, not too flat. Have you ever heard the story about? It's really fascinating too, and there's like 900 years because I know spirituality is something that interests you, obviously, meditation and so forth. But um, and our occulted history, as the late great Jim Mars put it, right? So much is not just our consciousness, but so much in our history that's hidden from us and not made public or something that's available for mass consumption. But there's two separate stories: Greco Buddhism, 900 years Greco Buddhism, the Buddha and Socrates, both approached by musicians. And of course, Buddha and Socrates, different times of world history, totally different locations as well. But there was this common factor of what many refer to as Greco Buddhism, which from the time of, like, at least from the time of Alexander the Great to when Mani, the founder of Manichaeism, that's the way I look at least, that he lost his head, had it stuck on a pike outside, uh, was it Baghdad or Iraq, Iran, one of those countries, maybe just it was ancient Persia. But the fact is, so we had musicians approaching. One approached the Buddha asking about enlightenment. How do you achieve enlightenment? And then the story of a musician approaching Socrates asking, how do you achieve eudaimonia, which is the ancient Greek koine term for uh, happiness, eudaimonia, the good demon within.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and they both gave the same answer. So they both have the same context of these musicians approaching them, asking what like the ultimate truth for spiritual, for peace and happiness in this world of suffering and tumult. And they both gave the same answer. They said, "Well, you're a musician. You should know this. What happens when your string is too loose? The sound is off. It's terrible. It's not where it should be. Too tight, you break the strings. Therefore, just find the middle way." And that was it.
Yes.
And you've got optimal where you should be basically
Yes.
for the and I take that even further myself, just to kind of add a little something to it, in the sense that sometimes extremes are called for. I do believe. Uh, I really do believe that, but only in the rarest of instances, rarest of occasions. Got to keep that to a minimum. One way or the other, extreme action.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
middle way
it's
is
like
the
the
best
quote.
usually.
It's kind of like the quote by Albert Camus, who said that always go too far because that's where you'll find the truth. So that is the common sense idea as to why you would want to go out of balance, right? To find the truth. Because
Oh
if
well,
you you know what I mean? So if
yeah,
you were in balance, though, that is extreme too, because that is something that's hard to achieve.
yeah.
I mean, this the last 2 years that's been my big seeking is balance in a lot of ways. But now we're talking about the Jungian depth psychology when we
Ah,
talk about those types of things, which really is interesting because it is another remedy. The law is one remedy; it'll never change. Talk about your CBDCs and all that. Once you understand the straw man and all how that shit works, you get a relationship to the straw man. You'll start to understand who you are and your true capacity and how you can create a capacity, right? Your capacity is something you create. It's like Carl Jung's or Robert Moore's system self, where you build the ego. The ego is something that you build. You're born without an ego as a baby, you know.
mm-hmm.
And so, why is a baby so freaking agitated? It cries. It has temper tantrums. You imagine if we were born huge like an adult, and we were like a baby. So nature created it as a little helpless thing that's out of control. It'll be screaming and throwing plates around. It'll beat you up, punch you in the head, and laugh. So that is pure id. We heard of the id or
Mm.
the it, which is the raw um, native energy that we all possess as humans. It's the animalistic energy that wants to kill or fuck everything. That's what the id is. Or it wants to. It'll do one or the other first. You know. So
Mm.
so the ego regulates the id, and we build the id with a
Ah,
thing called system self. you know,
well, the
and
super
so
the
you can.
super ego.
Yeah.
Mm. Isn't that what George Carlin referred to as the reptilian part of the brain? The the
The
the
super ego.
primal. Oh, no,
Uh,
the
the
id.
the id. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The id is definitely a reptilian type of thing. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't give a shit. It just
primal
wants what it
impulse,
wants.
grasping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the super ego. To cut to the chase on that definition, the super ego is really related to the conscience. The conscience. It's the angel and the devil tapping on the shoulder, going, "Shall I or shouldn't I?" That's So a narcissist or a narcopath, a narcopath, they will be very little conscience, which means their super ego has been diminished. Because the super ego is the conscience, it's the thing that pushes you to succeed, it's the thing that criticizes you. So you have to keep the super ego in balance. You have to say, yeah, okay, super ego, you got a point. You know,
Okay,
this is wrong what I'm doing.
yeah, this is the Freudian model. What about with the id, ego, superego? Now, I'm not sure if there were any other famous psychologists or people of those sort other than Jung who came along with their own unique models. But could you talk a little? See, because Jung and Freud, are you aware of you know how they had a falling out, I guess, and went their separate ways after maintaining cordial, relations, professional cordial relations for a number of years. Do you know what it was that proved to be the deciding factor in their relationship? That why they went
Yeah,
their separate ways?
yeah, I think that Freud, if you look into it, you'll find that Freud, when the conspiracy, or put it this way, when the conspiracy movement gets into the psychology thing, they tend to jump in and criticize Sigmund Freud, but they don't know that Sigmund Freud taught Carl Jung. He was a student of Freud, and Freud initially did get into the unconscious mind as well, and he discovered some strange stuff. But Carl Jung took it forward in his career and made it his big forte, and really got into it. And so there was a falling out over the public sphere. It's interesting how we call it that, the public sphere, the
Mm,
public sphere. So, so he was like, no, I don't want to get into that. I'm into the ego-based psychology, and that's the way we're going to do it. So
mm,
Carl Jung just thought, well, bugger you. I want to get into this subconscious stuff more,
right.
and then we go.
So, cosine Cody, thanks for dropping by. Svetlana and DK as well. On top of Roger Hansen, whole number of lurkers. As always, of course, sign in, folks. Don't be shy. DK saying that he just spent 4 hours on a panel talking about this. I'm not sure what this actually refers to, but as far as there is that end of things. See, it was the occult essentially that really freaked Freud out. I mean, irritated and probably even freaked him out following the famous incident of where the two of them were sitting in Freud's library and they were going back and forth. Tension was rising. It's two very super, speaking of egos, strongly willed individuals. And Jung was a kind of, I had one medical doctor that we had on the show here during the whole scamdemic actually, when we pressed him on, he felt that Jung was more of a mystic than a what's the term now? I'm not psychologist, not psychiatrist. Psychiatrist? And
Psychiatrists deal with the more medicine side.
yeah,
They
psychologists. Anyways,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well, I mean,
but
the public,
but
look, basically the public, when the public talks about psychology, and when I say public, I'm talking about general public. When they talk about psychology these days, and for a long time, they talk about ego-based psychology. That's what it is. So when you go to a psychologist these days, you're going to get an ego-based
mm,
psychologist, and they're going to work on the ego, which
uh-huh.
is okay, but it's not going to get to the root of the problem.
Mm.
To get to the root of mental illness, you have to go deep.
I guess so. And so here's the thing: Freud and Jung. Freud, they're sitting together there in Freud's library. Tension is building. Jung can feel it, and as I said, he had these mystical type qualities, with spiritual, very deep, profound spiritual experiences, which beyond the empirical realm, clearly. He said, "Look, there's some presence, like a poltergeist presence here, and something's going to happen on this your bookshelf in just a few short moments." And hardly, before the words had barely come out of his mouth, there was a book that flew off the bookshelf, and just kind of just from out of the blue, basically, for no reason, like no explicable reason whatsoever. they were both kind of taken aback and what have you, and then got back to like, oh well,
Right.
trying to rationalize it as to one way or another. Freud probably, and Jung saying, well, there's a reason for this, and then Jung's like, it's going to happen again. Maybe he could feel it. I don't think it was rigged or set up. It could have been, but this was. I checked into it. It was apparently Freud's library, so that would maybe make it a little more difficult if you had like Confederates, the way that some stage magicians operate from time to time. Like if it was Jung's library, I could maybe see it potentially more, you know, having been the case, possibly. But there's a second book. Then he said, "I feel there's something building here. It's going to happen again," and boom, that second book flew off the shelf. It really rattled Freud, I guess, and Jung shortly thereafter departed for home, and I don't think they really saw too much of each other after that. So, but Jung mostly known for archetypes, the collective unconscious. Um,
Well, we can talk
what
about the
else?
archetypes if you
Sure.
want, because
Oh,
it's quite powerful. I mean,
yeah.
when the fascinating thing is that the present the present knowledge that's been put out there on Jung's work in the last, say, probably 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
25 years, 30 years, has been quite awesome in respect to relationships, right? Which we need as humans. We need, if we can't have relationships, you won't have children. You'll have
Mm-hmm.
broken families that we have today. So relationships, but also, so what we look at, that I particularly am into now, I've even got a Discord group with a friend of mine, that is to create the masculine again, to bring men back again, to bring masculine back again, because men have been demasculated, they've been feminized, and the
Mm-hmm.
women have been masculated, right? And there are more ways than one. Alan Watt went into it chemically as well. He told
Ah,
what's happening chemically, right?
chemical lobotomies. That's right. And
Well,
psychoanalyst as well was the term I was looking for. Psychoanalyst Carl Jung. Yes. So,
psychoanalyst, yep.
right.
So the archetypes really, are, the four main ones, the four archetypes, and this goes into going back to what I said about the cross, believe it or not, on the circle. The cross on the circle is four parts. It's like a pizza, and you cut into four parts. So if you can imagine that on the top, if you imagine that in your head, on the top left hand side at the top, that's the wizard or the mage archetype. And then next to that, if you go across to 12 to 3 o'clock on the
Mm-hmm.
clock,
Mm-hmm.
then we're looking at the warrior archetype. And then if we go from 3 to 6 o'clock, we have the lover archetype. And if we go from 6 to 9, we have the king archetype, or uh, the uh,
Money.
the king,
I was
the
thinking it
king,
had to be
the king
something
or
with
the queen.
money.
Yeah, but the king or the queen. I was gonna say the Hierophant. So because
Ah.
when you get into Jung's work and you get into this stuff, the most fascinating thing, and it is a life work in itself, is you're talking about astrology. You're talking about the tarot cards, because they're very symbolic and very old.
Did he study
Even the
those?
Yeah,
I
Jung
didn't know he
studied a lot
did.
of
I didn't know he
yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, because in Jung's work, and why it's the most difficult psychology to study, is it takes in all phenomena. It doesn't discount any phenomena, and this is controversial. Where most public phenomena researcher, they edit it out, like ancient history, as you know, they'll go, "Oh, that doesn't fit the narrative," so they'll
Mm.
get rid of it, right? So
Compartmentalized. Got to be compartmentalized.
exactly. So they do that with psychology too. So Jung
Mm-hmm.
didn't do that. He said, "To hell with you. We want to get the truth." So the analysis of a mentally ill person, which means dysfunctional, basically they're dysfunctional in some form, analyze the truth about the actions of the person in every way, and to figure out where it comes from.
Do you know that Freud is a psychopathology of everyday things? I think was one of the books that he put out. If you couldn't remember something the way that he thought you should, that you'd have to be medicated. If if you misspoke, if the way that you communicated was not really as clear or proper as it should be, you'd have to be medicated. If and then just an endless list of ridiculous things. If you hit the wrong chord on your musical instrument, made a mistake at one point, you needed medication. Like this is really mundane. Like it's
Mm.
just the crazy, crazy, and that's speaking of all encompassing, that's where he was coming from. Clearly, you know, he wanted to just cast a wide a net as possible, and to trying to argue that the everything that we see here is an example of how people are mentally ill or diseased. Look at that term, diseased. Ease, meditation. At
Yeah,
ease,
that's right.
peaceful. But then the So I mean, we are all mentally diseased. Don't get me wrong. But of
Yeah,
course, nobody's perfect unless you become like you finally realize on the deepest level through samadhi or what have you, connecting with the Buddha energies or nature. Uh, and just take it from there as it were. But yeah, we're all mentally diseased for one reason or the next, and a lot of that comes with because of desire, it would seem, and suffering and change, and that's the Buddhist critique, right? And I talk to the
yep.
wife sometimes. She's like, "Oh, superstition, superstition." Well, I say, "Well, suffering, desire, and change, is that superstition?" It's like, well, no, and because it's like universal, desire, suffering, and change. You want something, you can't have it. You're that little baby, and going back to the id state, throwing a temper tantrum, or freaking out in some way. And then if you have something in your environment that you like, a monster, something that's you don't like, you want to label it as being a problem, to get it out of here. The desire to see it go away, and that's
Yeah,
an issue too. And then change, because you're losing the things that you want, or your environment's not as
yeah,
comfortable as it used to be, right? It's like change, desire,
yeah.
suffering, change.
And
Yeah,
so another little thing we could add on to that I've experienced in the last 2 years in,
yeah.
in my last big ego death,
Okay.
which is another story in itself, but we won't go there today. We won't have enough time. But um, in regard to that whole problem of detachment, or desire, or what you want, what your ego, it's your ego, what your ego wants. My ego wants it now, and it wants this and it wants that, and I want it to be this way. And yet, well, what is the antidote for that? Well, it's letting go. And ironically, a lot of things in psychology to do with business and to do with the relationship and to do with a lot of things like that is the art of letting go. And you can
Ah.
practice it, right? You can practice it, but you'll be surprised how powerful it is.
Mm.
Because when you mess with the art of letting go, which is a big study in itself, you'll learn that it connects to magnetism, where you magnetize. You don't need to go and run for things; they appear. And the truth about what your soul wants, the truth about what your soul wants, not what your ego wants. Your ego is in fear, and it's programmed majoritarily by the freaking public and the
Right.
movies and all that, right? So, what do you want, and why do you do what you do? Why do you even do what you do? Why do you act like you act? Why do you think what you think? What is it? Are you happy? Really? How deep are you happy? And if you're not, why aren't you finding out, letting go, and find out what you really want?
Mm-hmm. Two quick
Yeah.
terms. Two quick terms here for you, just to bounce off you before we're in the process of winding things down. Essentially, time really flies when you're having fun here with Jaffe and miscellaneous, various crew members of down Skullport Harbor. Um, Wu Wei, what the Koreans, I guess, call Mu-yi, it's a Taoist concept and term, that something that sort of essentially dovetails with what you just laid out there, the doing through non-doing, action through non-action. Wu Wei, or Koreans once again pronounce it
Mhm.
Mu Yi. And then secondly, oh gosh, what was the second? There was a really Monkey Mind. So monkey or Mind
Yes.
Monkey as it's known.
Why? Yeah,
Another.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely the monkey mind. Yeah, the monkey mind is the ego mind. It's the beta mind. When we say beta mind, we're talking about like the fast algorithm of the sine waves. Imagine that, where your mind is hyperactive. It's very conscious. It's paranoid. It's vigilant. It's over vigilant. You overthink. All of this is monkey mind, and it will swing. It'll create your moods. It'll create
And,
so the ability to let go and to get in touch with your heart and to get in touch with your solar plexus, now you're getting a different reading. Now you're starting to pull in different knowledge.
and so many people, do they not? They confuse their true self, their sense of identity and self with that monkey mind, do they not? The internal dialogue, the commentator,
Right?
that they think, oh,
Monkey,
that's me. I'm the monkey mind. Yes.
monkey see, monkey do. Right?
Okay. So how do we get around that then? I guess other than meditation, that's the
Yeah. Well,
best
I mean,
antidote. One of the best
yeah.
antidotes.
Well, there's another. I'll put another little plug for someone. There's another little guy that I post in history on my YouTube channel called R.D. Lang,
Ah,
Laing,
yep.
Lang, R.D. Lang, and he's a Scottish guy, or yeah, I think he's Scottish, and he's got a thick accent. But there's a video on there where he talks about with Mr. Matos. You'll find it on my YouTube. It's black and white, and he knows about the tyranny. He worked for Tavistock Institute. See, a lot of these top psychologists are working in Tavistock Institute. You go, but that was bad. No, no, no. Tavistock Institute's just a research center. Obviously, it's going to
Human
try and
relations, I guess, out of outgrowth of like product of World War One, where they were
mm,
working to. There was a think tank. The think tank put together to study the shell
yeah,
shock. I think was it shell shock that
yeah.
soldiers were suffering from.
Yep, it'll be think tank, it'll be research, it'll be everything. And so what they're doing, I mean, look at Huxley's work. I mean, Huxley thought he was with Tavistock, right? And so he thought he was doing a good thing. He's saying, hey, everyone wants to be happy. You don't want to be miserable. So you can have machines and happiness, or you can have God and you can have not
I
happiness.
think I think he was warning people. I don't understand. I still haven't got my head wrapped around this version of Huxley. Whereas with Orwell, they were both trying to warn the world, only that there was two separate paths. And I think with the world that we find ourselves, this prison planet, and that's another term that I thought actually had you'd be a good guy to talk to about this. I was led to believe it actually had ancient historic roots stemming back to the Jesuits, which ChatGPT, good old ChatGPT, you know, not that we can always trust ChatGPT. Don't think that for a second, folks. Although it might get to the point where YouTube and others, Facebook, insists that you must trust ChatGPT. It's the irrefutable truth, or else. But yeah, the prison planet term or catchphrase, as these things are often known, more just a concept and term. It stemmed from the uh, Jesuits essentially. So and then we do have the Panopticon, obviously with Jeremy Bentham, I guess, and the all-seeing eye, this total 360-degree surveillance, um, and from that, basically. Oh, what else was I going to add to that? Oh, Christ Almighty, help me out here, Cliff. Help me out. This is why we have co-hosts.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
well, I mean, yeah, I know.
Where
Well,
are
I
we
mean,
going with this?
there's so much to take in of different
Prison
parts of
Planet.
studies. Like
Science
we have
fiction.
psycho.
It's where modern day science fiction is where it came from, essentially, like
Mm,
almost Hubbard,
right.
L. Ron Hubbard, those kind of. But I
Yeah.
had a friend the other day say it was Heinlein. He thinks Heinlein. We check it on ChatGPT. Anyone who's interested,
Mm,
I forgot I did the other day, and it did come back saying something was science fiction.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, all these
relatives.
things. See, when you study all the different parts of the main knowledge of humans, these systems we live in, which are created with psychology and the spirit and all that, the id, as we talked about, and when you contemplate all of this bowl of wax that we live in, you start to get an idea of why things are the way they are.
Yeah.
And you think about it. Hey, someone's got to contain the id. The it is in all of us, and it is wild. So this is why we have the government, because and then you'd say, but the government's not exempt from the id. Yeah, exactly. They're at the top trying to control their id too, and their bloodlust. So this is reality, and we're going to figure it out. And so you'll find at the top, like Alan Watt found. I mean, he's the authority on understanding the psychological aspects, and there's one or two others of the elite and why they do what they do and how they live, and how they control themselves,
Mm.
right? Which they will inherently, through their psychology, they will govern each other through common interest. They'll govern each other through, we're going to keep it together, guys. We can't go too far. You know what I mean? So, and then the agenda of this new type of man they're creating, because the man that we had yesteryear is out of control. We know he's out of control in general.
What do you mean by that exactly? And let's not forget Huxley. We got to go back to him. Just revisit. Just I think there's more
Yeah.
that we could. Well, I was going to say with the Prison Planet. Uh, I'll let you finish the point about man of yesteryear out of control. And are you
Yeah, well, I mean, the last,
Is this Bertrand Russell and how you're like with Bertrand Russell? One of his big things, of course. I think this is thanks to Alan Watt. How every new it was like we're Gen Xers basically, and we have to be done away with because or else there's a tendency for us to contaminate. I think was Russell's term, right? If I'm not mistaken, contaminate younger generations, Y, Z, millennials, and so forth, right? Do you know what I'm
yeah, yeah,
saying? Is that what you're getting
yeah,
at, perhaps?
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, definitely you're looking at what they call the new man in the modern technocratic society since the end of the 1800s when technocracy came in, which is machinery and all that stuff.
Uh huh.
And you're talking about Huxley's thing, like I said, of happiness and machines as opposed to pain and God and
Adam
truth.
Curtis, have you seen the Adam Curtis documentaries? Any of them?
I think I've heard of him, but I haven't looked into his work.
Okay. All
But
right.
what I'm trying to get
Yeah.
to is that when the technocracy started, Hitler and Stalin, both sides talked about the new man. And what's the
Uh,
new man? He is a Borg in the hands of the leaders, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So the leaders have to govern themselves. Alan Watt talked about that. He said, they've got to hold it together too. And so Huxley again talked about a thing called Brave New World, which is a book and the movie. The
Mm,
movie is on my YouTube as well. Go and check it out. And so that'll tell you where we're going. Now, Elon Musk himself, when he was interviewed, when he got in with Trump this last few months, about 3 or 4 months ago, people were interviewing him and they said, oh, we don't want to turn into idiocracy, like that crazy movie Idiocracy. And he said, no, 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 it's okay. It's okay. We've got it under control. We're heading into a Brave New World scenario. That's what he
The
said.
Shape of Things to Come, H.G. Wells.
No, no, no. Brave New World, which is
Okay. All
Aldous
right.
Huxley,
So and let's
which is
well,
highly controlled.
I'm sorry, mind control.
Now, Brave New World
Yeah.
is highly controlled, and it is the
Yeah.
new man, right?
Through moksha and the moksha drug, of course, the happy pills, as compared to 1984, where you lived in fear, kind of like North Korea, essentially. Although
Okay.
it's interesting, with fear and coercion, you look at ask yourself who has more surveillance cameras. Who would you guess? Who would you think? North or South Korea?
Yeah, it's getting hard to
It's the
decipher between the
freedom-loving democratic
two.
South. I think I'm almost certain. Believe it or
Yeah, yeah,
not.
for sure.
So.
Yeah, North
Uh,
North Korea would be Orwellian, and South Korea would be Brave New World. Yeah, for sure. The West would be more Brave New World, with a little bit of Orwellian coming in when you get out of hand. See, in my opinion, COVID was Brave New World attempt. Let's do it quietly. You go off into the night quietly, and we drug you. You be happy, right? Take the vaccine and be happy.
just
Stay
and
home and
just
play your
die
games.
quietly. Is
Yeah,
that right?
die quietly. Yeah, stay home and lock down and play your games. We'll give you free
And
benefits
the
as a
worst
principle.
possible things that people could do to stay at home, don't get out
Mm,
and expose
mm,
yourself to the sun. And if you do, well, Bill Gates will take care of that because he wants to block the sun. Obviously, you don't need any more vitamin D. That's the last thing we want you, access that free,
right, right,
natural,
right,
healthy or vitamin
right.
D.
Yeah,
So, and herd immunity, we can't talk about any of that. That's the last you're ever going to hear about herd or natural immunity.
yeah,
We got to kind of
yeah.
erase that from the.
So I think that it is entirely possible that with the fight back over the COVID legally, as I said, in Australia, America, and New Zealand, and in a lot of countries, people fought back. A lot of people died fighting back too. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of top quality people died that were exposing the COVID scam.
What set of circumstances?
Like there was what's her name, Bercier.
Are we talking
I can't
targeted
remember her first name.
killings?
Yeah, yeah, fast acting cancers, that type of thing.
Did they take the shots or no?
No, fuck no, no. They'll be killed
Oh,
another way. Yeah, but anyway, that's another story. So
yeah.
anyway, so I think personally, I think the big picture is that the COVID thing did not completely work in their favor, and I think their plan B is war, which is the Orwellian thing, right? Brave New World was the COVID injection.
Contained
See what I'm
wars.
saying?
They
There you
have to
go.
keep them contained, though, as according to
Yeah,
what the way they've got things laid out.
yeah.
It's the global revolution. Is that the PDF? Is it the Club of Rome or no? What the
Well,
hell with the Rockefellers? The
remember,
Club of
remember the banker. Remember the banker. I think it
First
wasn't
Global
J.
Revolution. First.
Yeah, it wasn't J.P. Morgan. It was another banker. I can't remember his name, but he said that we will get our new world order by conquest or consent. Look up the quote. I can't
Okay.
remember which
All
one it
right.
was.
Uh,
We will get a new world order by conquest or consent. So consent was COVID. It didn't work. So now they're going to go the conquest, right? Which is they said they're fighting right. He's fighting who's the what's the
yeah.
where. They're evil, he's evil, we're evil. Let's fight each other,
Yeah.
and everyone's getting killed, right?
And
Under the
it
guise of safety.
and I'm sorry, under auspices of public
Un-
safety.
under yeah, under the guise of safety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We're fighting for your freedom, so we need to take them away. You know, that's
exactly. Yeah,
just how it
and that's
starts.
Orwell. That's
It's a
Orwell's philosophy.
2 weeks to flatten the curve. Just 2 weeks. Yeah. Order out and endless order out of chaos too. The Kalergi plan for the open borders. Like how much more obvious they have to make it. Really, it's and the Great Leveling. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. That's within the context of the first global revolution, which um. Anyways, it's a PDF that people can find out there. The
Club of
first.
Rome. Yeah,
It
Club
is
of
the club.
Rome
That
wrote the
is a
book
club.
called
Okay.
yeah, Club of Rome wrote the book The First Global Revolution back in 1960s, and
Mm-hmm.
it was written by about three authors,
Mm-hmm.
and that was from another book called Limits to Growth, which is a
Uh,
similar type of thing, right?
Carbon. They gotta demonize the carbon
Yeah,
molecule.
yeah,
Do you know how
yeah,
much?
and they're
Do
still
you know?
pushing that.
Yeah, the carbon cult. Yeah, and I did respond to that survey that you had posted on your Facebook the other day
For the
too.
farming. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
the
the farming.
cow gas, cow farts. So, and do you know how much the carbon actually, as far as our environment and atmosphere, consists of carbon? Do you know how much that is?
I'm not really up to speed on that, but I do know that carbon is needed for plants to
Of
grow.
course,
Plants,
right?
a lot of arborists through the years when I was growing up said plants breathe carbon,
Yeah,
and in fact they say we need more carbon.
yeah. Well,
So
it's point
it's crazy.
point point 0.006% of our atmosphere is carbon. Now, carbon like CO2, and and a lot of people don't just too stupid to stop and think that there is a difference between carbon and carbon dioxide, right? So because one is C is carbon, that was a periodic table of elements. C is for carbon, and then CO2, carbon dioxide. But and I think that is what we we emit when we breathe out. So the science tells us. Uh, and you're totally right that if we go over and start breathing on a plant or a tree, I think they kind of like that. So it's one thing, like, if we want to have a greener, more healthy, robust ecosystem and environment, really genuinely committed to a green planet, we need more CO2, not less. So, uh, and the thing too is like the public discourse and discussion is so limited. You don't even get past to the point where people are able to talk about pollution and the distinction between pollution and carbon. Like factory emissions and the way that these toxic, like Karen Silkwood, she was in the nuclear industry, I guess, but the way that with industrial, the way that they dump so much of their refuse, which is completely, just contaminating lakes and rivers and so forth, the sort of thing that RFK Jr. has long waged war against. So there needs to be a deeper, just, it doesn't even have to be all that much, but deeper and more honest conversation. The problem is we have so many with the carbon, the cultists, and a lot of them, they mean well. As was, do-gooders, well-meaning do-gooders, as so many of us are
Well,
not realizing the consequences. Go ahead.
they're the useful idiots, aren't
I
they?
guess
They're the
so.
ones. They're the ones that parrot slogans that aren't even their own and are paid by the government
A
for
lot of
their
times, that's
revolution.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was
So
and
they don't even.
was that Lenin that the first apparently is
Yeah.
credited with that
Yeah.
term, useful
Lenin.
idiots?
Yeah. Lenin, the banker. Yeah. He would know all the techniques of how to win over the people long term, right? Give me a child at 5 and I own him for life. That was another quote he said. So it's the same techniques all the time. He's just another guy that was privy to understand it, of how to govern the people. It hasn't changed a hell of a lot. It's even back in the ancient times, it's been like this. Name the creature, treat it like a child, presume it to be a child, even when it's an adult, and make it dependent on you. Like Stalin ripping the feathers out of a chicken, freaking it out, and then it runs around all freaked out. Then give it some food, and now it's mine. Now it relies on me completely.
Did he do
Trauma
that? Did he
bonded.
literally do that?
Yeah, yeah, he did that. He showed the Politburo. This is how you own people, and it's through. That's really just trauma bonding. You traumatize the creature, and then you feed it and comfort it, and say, "I'm here to save you." It's the same thing. Like I said,
Stockholm syndrome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So
it's once people understand the basics of how you're controlled, you'll start to understand what not to do because the facts are the facts, and if we understand it. But there's a lot of detail we could go into at another time if you want. I mean, I've got here with the vaccine that they're going to push again, if you want to get out of it, there's the informed consent doctrine. That came out of the Nuremberg Code. That's something you can rattle on to
oh
them today.
oh
And I've
my,
done it.
yeah,
Informed
exactly,
consent.
informed medical consent. Now,
Yeah.
what the rebuttal to that, the only decent rebuttal that I heard was that, well, it was never signed into law, or was never actually a law. The Nuremberg Convention, was it? The Nuremberg
No, it's a,
laws, I believe it is.
yeah, it's a doctrine. It's a
Oh,
doctrine.
yeah.
And
So,
so,
like, to prevent any subsequent further freakish medical experimentation, and basically, yeah, as subjects, we ourselves reserve the right to say no. We consult our doctors if we have an issue, and just weighing the problems as they are, our situation as it stands, and maybe proceed and go ahead or not. So, but let's
well,
let's
there,
have you flesh it out, fill it in, and then we'll put this one to bed.
all right. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it takes, in my opinion, the knowledge of how to be lawful, how to act lawfully, how law works, And that's something people really need to understand. And there's a bit there to learn, but it isn't that difficult. We talked about tacit acquiescence is a problem that people fall for a lot. That you're silence, you're consenting with a lot of things. And so that's the first thing. So if someone's coming at you with something, don't stay silent. You say, well, hang on, do I have the right for informed consent on this?
You have the
Right
right
now,
to
what are they
remain
going to tell?
silent.
No, do I have the right of informed consent based on the informed consent doctrine? So
Uh-huh.
this is where Socrates
That's
comes
a great
involved,
point.
where you don't make statements, you always ask questions. The person that asks questions is in control, and the better questions you ask, the more control you'll have. Right? And they're not ready for it. If you ask the general public or the government or whatever, you ask the right questions, they don't know what the fuck to do. If you go to their constitution and their buildings, because every corporation has a constitution, and you look at it, it has to serve you. A corporation cannot hurt a man. But if they hurt you inadvertently and you don't speak for your rights against it, you're going to get your ass kicked. So you drag up their constitution and say you're violating your own constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Constitution means fundamental. That's what it means.
Oh, really?
Even the Soviet Union had a constitution. A lot of people don't know that. Even though I've got one, I've got the Soviet constitution for the people. See, but if you don't know how to use it, you're going to get your ass kicked. So to get the informed consent doctrine to work, you have to apply it with questions. Do I not have the right to be informed about what you're offering? Yes. Well, is it not true that the vaccines didn't even have the ingredients on the box? Or if they're going to swab test you with the cancer causing ethylene
PCR.
oxide,
Yeah.
ethylene oxide,
Oh,
EO,
yeah. That's right.
right? And that's cancer
The
causing. So you could say, yeah, there you go.
Well, yeah, the brain-blood barrier with
Yeah.
the ethylene oxide on the tip of those PCR swabs, which so many people here in Korea, it was just horrific. Because they've been conditioned. You talk about a conditioned society, just to fall
Yep.
into line.
Yep.
It's
And
and it's frightening. Actually, it's really frightening. And they wanted us actually to all to basically make ourselves present at a local soccer sports stadium, which, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, holy shit, when I'm thinking like governments telling people that they are, expected to make an appearance at these soccer stadiums, I'm thinking like South American death squads and machine gunning, and only this is done in a different, more stealthy manner, silent weapons for quiet
quiet wars.
wars. So,
Yeah.
and I called City Hall over that whole business
Wow.
too. I'm not sure what sort of impact or effect it had, but I mean, I was actually out protesting in the streets with a sort of it was a vocal kind of booster kind of a walkie-talkie type device and a mic, a headset, where I was, just really broken Korean going around trying to draw to people's attention that it might be a good idea to look into what was, how they were being led down the garden
The
path, I
prim, the,
guess,
the
and
prim, yeah, the
it's terrible.
primrose path.
Primrose
I
path.
mean, but here's another example of how simple questions work. Now, I did this with many people in the COVID times, and it worked like magic.
Hmm.
So I suggest if they do it again, you do this.
Mm-hmm.
So when they got any questions on the vaccine, you say this: Does it work? That's all I have to say. Does it work? Because if you say it does work, I'm going to say, well, then what the hell do you care? And if you say it doesn't work, then why the hell are you pushing it? See? So the simple question is, does it work? Now, every time I said that to any human being on planet Earth, they folded and then they come clean.
What are you
No
talking
kidding.
about? What would this do? The kill shots work?
Yeah, or whatever they're trying to push on you.
Oh,
Does it work?
uh-huh.
Hey, does it work? Do the masks work? Well, then what the hell are you worried about? If the masks don't work, well, then don't push them on me. Does the vax work? Well, I don't know. Well, that ain't good enough. Does it work? Yes. Well, then what the hell are you? See, it's the same question. Does it work?
Mm-hmm.
And so now when I did that, any human with any slight intelligence that I said it to, they folded. What does that mean? It means that they then said, I don't like what they're doing. I don't agree with them pushing it. No kidding.
Oh, they came around to
It's,
your side?
yeah, it's like
But
it's
now,
like
what about
snapping them
law
out of
enforcement,
hypnosis.
though? What about law enforcement?
I'd do it to them too.
And what was their response?
I have not done it to them, but I would do it to them too.
Well,
I never got the opportunity
there was a one occasion where you said you had headed out for a during lockdown. Gotta love that term.
to.
Lockdown out on the roads with a bit of a bike ride, and your a crotch rocket, and you got pulled over and handed him your a business card.
Business card, yeah. Because they're remember, everything's a corporation. You know, everything in this world, especially today, is a corporation. So I'm in business. He's in business, right? That's why he's charging you, because I get to charge you too. So everyone's being charged. He's a business, I'm a business. Okay, well then I've got a right to do it under the promotion of safety, right? Where's the probable cause? Where's the damage? Where's what I'm doing harming? That considering that I'm on my own on a motorcycle and I'm all in safety gear and I'm fricking doing my own thing out in the wilderness,
Mm-hmm.
where the hell do you get the right to tell me what to do? I'm
Yeah.
doing this for safety, and I believe that I am necessity. See, there was another thing they pushed that time, and they say, "Are you necessary?" Because if you're not, you got to die. So it's like, yeah, I believe I'm necessary. Have you got any evidence I'm not necessary? See, there's the question again. Have you got any evidence I'm not necessary? Well, that's debatable. Well, do you want to debate? Yeah, I didn't think you wanted to debate. Well, let the record show that I am necessary.
How
And I'm
many?
now going to go on my way.
Yeah.
See?
Sure. How brilliant. How many businesses right around the planet, small, medium-sized businesses, were driven out of operation because of government action was taken? And you notice there were no laws that they passed; they were all mandates. Apparently, mandates are not laws. But with you can address that briefly if you like. But with the
Rid of mandamus.
small and medium-sized businesses, they were targeted, and who you can bet we all know who stood to profit and benefit from that. But it was horrific. The what is it? The transfer of wealth, I guess, is what it would be known as. This is the largest transfer of wealth in all of human history. But what is the distinction then between mandates and laws? A mandate is not a law, correct? No government passed. They might have passed mandates or tried to
Everything's on
promote
offer.
mandates.
Yeah, everything in this, if you slow down the transactions in Matrix time, like Neo did, slow down the bullets, and you look at it for what it is, they're not going to shoot you straight away. They're going to talk to you first if you're in the USA, right? Over in New Zealand, they might tase you eventually if you don't comply,
Hmm.
but they're going to talk to you first. So when they use viva voce on me, we're in commerce. And so you just made an offer. I don't care if it's a mandate or if you say it's law or anything. But if you're talking mandate, it comes from writ of mandamus. There's a writ of
All
mandamus, a
this is
mandate.
great. These
Mm.
Latin terms that we should
Yeah, these Latin
know of.
terms that are
Yeah.
ancient. They're
Mhm.
ancient because they work and they're part of the human commercial system. The whole law system is based on
And it's all
commerce.
occulted from us common folk, of
Mm,
course, isn't it? So
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, I mean the Canaanites that run it all, Mark of Cain, right? Is Canaanite means merchant banker.
Two ball cane.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that too. Yeah. So so that's the game. You're living in a game. It's a chess game. It's deadly. Play
But we
well.
are expected. We need to make our move, though, do we not?
Yeah, but the we, who's we? See,
Well,
most
each of
people
us
won't.
individually. I mean, we've been given freedom of movement, and we're supposed to be guaranteed that under our constitutions, usually, and
Yeah,
various statutes, if that is in any way different from a law.
yeah.
I'm not
Well,
100% clear, but
why not start? Why not start more preemptively and say, do I not have the freedom of thought
of
today?
course, of
Yes or no?
course, yeah.
Right. Well, then Then okay, so you allowing me to make an offer to you? Yes or no? With my thought, my independent thought, can I make an offer to you? Yes or no? Your Honor, yes or no? Do I not have the unalienable right to contract here today?
Hmm.
Is
How?
there any evidence of jurisdiction here today?
Oh
Where's your
God,
evidence of jurisdiction? Where's your evidence of here's another one. Where's the delegation of authority on the public record
this really
for you
irritates them, doesn't it? Just as with jury nullification is another one that pisses them off. The judges don't stand for that, do they? They don't not big fans of jury
Yeah.
nullification.
You
You
don't
know,
want to go to court. Yeah, but you don't want to go to court.
right?
Court is for debtors. It's proven. Court is for debtors. You want to resolve your shit outside of court. When you go to court, you're in dishonor, you're in contempt. And that's why they rule you and they try and push an attorney on you. Because when you get an attorney, you're a ward of the state, right?
Well, how do you
By
avoid
default.
court then when you receive like a summons,
You
for
got to
example?
get agreement out of court. You got to get agreement out of court, and that's
Mm,
contract law. So you get agreement out of court, you got a bond. So if you are forced to go to court and you got a contract with the party and they don't know what a contract is because they're stupid, then you turn up with a bond. Now the court's going, well, you already got agreement. You go, I've got a private judgment here, Your Honor. This person's forced me into court. Can you check to see if there's any defect in this instrument? Right, which is the bond, which is the agreement, which these Fruit Loops don't even know what an agreement is. You know, I had the power company come round to me recently and they say, hey, no contract, no contract to sign up. And I say, hang on, what? No contract? Are you telling me I don't have to sign anything? And they said, no, you've got to sign something. Well, is that not a contract? Duh.
were these recent Asian immigrants to New Zealand? Sound like the way you said, no contact, no contact. You got to
Yeah, yeah.
sign. Oh, big
But
deal,
yeah,
make a
but a
good
lot
deal
of people don't
today.
know what a contract is, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, the other thing is what's frightening is that contracts are dynamic. So if you think you've got a contract, if you think you've got the ironclad blood thumbprints, frickin' watermarks on your documents and apostilles and gold ribbons and whatever, and you go into court and you fruit it up with your frickin' language, you know, that's called parole modification. Parole modification means that you just screwed it up, and now there's a modification to the contract, and now they're going to start screwing with you again. So
Mm.
contracts are dynamic. You can think you got the Justice Michael Mismanis, I think his name was. He said the most ironclad contract can be cut in two by the acetylene torch of parole modification. You can look up parole modification in contract law.
Yeah, I've heard the term. This is just really critical. What you're unpacking here. So I guess we all know who to reach out to and contact if we run into any
Yeah, yeah,
legal issues down the road. So
yeah.
the me were divine powers or ordinances defining the essential elements of civilization. I'm not sure what he means by that, Roger Hansen. The me. They included rules, customs, and technologies. So, rules, customs, and technologies. And yes,
Yeah. So
Alan,
if people,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, if people want to get involved in this, I've got my own Discord. That's my main think tank, and
Hmm.
we do chats. We got other links. We got other groups. We got other people. So if you want to join my Discord, look up Cliff Rockafella Discord, and you'll have to go through me personally. So you can look me up or my group, and you'll probably be able to find me on Discord because I've had people find me through YouTube. They come and contact me. So if you contact me, I'll give you a link to my Discord group, and you can come in. It's a very disciplined place. We don't play games, and we've got a lot of different little channels that are pertinent for you to know about. We've got role play where you can role play your problems, even if you got the
Mm.
problems with whatever. We role play it. I play a kick-ass judge. You know, we've got
Mm.
lawyers in the group. We've got lawyers, literal lawyers in the group. So have at it. Come and learn. Come and learn what you need to learn to be successful. Because
Wow.
that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. And you also said that you had a Facebook group that had as many as 1,000 people that were members. And I mean,
Got
tell me
shut
about
down.
it. They shut our pages down. They've
Yeah,
shut
yeah, they
our
do.
groups down. These assholes. It's just brutal.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so, and we
yeah.
have to wear it, all of us, as a badge of honor, of course, because it's
Yeah.
really like, what
Yeah.
else
I
can we
mean,
do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to maybe do it again because the rules have changed, but they keep changing, right? But yeah, so a few years ago, back in 2013, maybe up to about 2017, 16, 17, a few years there, I got a group together. It was called Global Elite Discussion New Zealand. And we had mainly New Zealanders, but we had all kinds of people join. And then there was a guy, a friend of mine in my group that was a Scientologist. And
Mm-hmm.
he was, people hate that, but whatever. He was a smart guy. And anyway, he predicted the Christchurch earthquakes. And so him and me were quite close discussing things. And so a lot of people joined his group because I think he even got on the radio about it, that he predicted the earthquake because he would study the anomalies of the maps of the satellites with the chemtrails and the manipulation of the clouds and that. I mean, I've got pictures for a satellite of clouds over New Zealand that are right angle, huge clouds that are right angle.
Nothing to
And
do
it's
with the harp technology.
yeah, yeah,
What is
yeah,
that?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, the harp type technologies.
Right.
So anyway, so he predicted it. He found evidence that could create the earthquake. So anyway, so everyone jumped into his group, and I said, well, look, if you guys want to learn what's really going on, join my group too, and we'll take you through into what's happening. So I got about over 1,000 people real quick, and he got popular. Anyway, they attacked me personally and shut it down. And when I got my new account, they said, "You better not talk about anything political." This is what they said to me. You
Just
better not talk about
recently, is
anything
that
political.
right?
Yeah, when my latest account, they said you better not do it politically because we'll
What?
shut
Hold
you
it.
down.
Who said that? They,
Yeah,
they they reached out to you and said
Facebook.
that?
Yeah, before I joined, they had a little Chrissy card for me, and they're like, "You talk about?" No kidding. I was like, "Oh my god, okay, I
Everything,
won't be
dude. But
political."
what they don't get is that
I
everything is political, especially
know.
censorship, or
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
like
So
how? Jeez.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's it's like debatable, but so now the rules have changed again. Now Zuckerberg has become, hey, I'm the bro now. I'm Trump's man. I'm the
Yeah,
bro. I'm the
yeah.
sports guy. He's no longer the lizard man. So who knows? But I mean,
Billionaire makeover tech
yeah, I'm
billionaire
I'm happy with
makeover.
my Discord. Do a few shows, promote the right information to the right people. I mean, it needs this information is for people that want to know. It's like Jordan Maxwell said, you need to want to know.
Yeah.
If you don't want to know the truth, then you ain't ever going to get the truth. But if you
Uh,
want to know, you'll get the truth.
we actually had the good fortune of interviewing Jordan just a short time before he had his first stroke. Actually, he wasn't feeling too well at the tail end. We only had him on for 90 minutes, but you could see he was fading, and it was just I think a short time after that
Right,
he had a stroke. So, but he lived
right.
for another couple of years. But yeah, we're all here to go, though. Isn't that the truth? So,
Yep.
but we owe it to the subsequent generations as our predecessors did. Many of them the best they could um, to pay it forward essentially and pass on down
Yeah.
the
Pass on the
knowledge.
torch.
That that
Pass on the torch.
that's right. Kind of in
Yeah.
the way it's really big here in South Korea are the women and chemtrails aside, the way that they are out in the wild, many instances, um, and become quite knowledgeable, educated in the area of like herbs and plants that grow wildly, trees and shrubs, and just what is edible, what is not, the berries and so forth. That much in the same way that we find that in like the indigenous native culture, maybe in New Zealand, it's very similar too. That with mothers, teaching their daughters something of that sort. Where when it comes to, I find generally the like Caucasians, and I'm not sure about the Asians or Africans. It varies, but I Caucasians not as dedicated, it seems, in that regard, as far as the mother daughter relationship. And they do it in other ways, I guess, with cooking recipes and so forth. But I'm not sure if you remember your grandma or grandmas and the way that things operated in that, that context, of course, with just passing it on down the line, paying it forward, and the torch.
Yeah,
I guess,
tradition.
yeah, or they die. The traditions and the knowledge, they die out, and all it's lost, unfortunately. So, but look, I'm just going to read the comments here, Cliff, and you hang on there just for a moment or two, and while I do this, and feel free to chime in and comment as you're so inclined. I wish, says Jane Fair, um, and we're definitely going to drop by and join your Discord here, probably right after we wrap this up. Just it's as simple as clicking on the social media link that we added here in the show description end of things, people. So I wish I had been there for your Say No to Digital ID episode. Well, Jane, it is in the archives. Although we don't like to promote YouTube all that much, it is there, of course. BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. As I was talking to Cliff here earlier about Facebook, unfortunately, now have a new policy where they remove any live streams that you've done after, I think it's about a month or so. But yeah, feel free to check out that archived content by all means. So let's see. Wondering about the time in Korea. Yes, it's early afternoon, 2 p.m., 2:10, essentially here. It's Saturday afternoon. It's late there in the East Coast of the Americas now at this uh, point in time. Obviously, later. Please tell me more about the writ of mandamus, asks Jane. Can you summarize that in just a minute or two? The writ of mandamus. And let's not forget the Code of Hammurabi. That is quite something. The Code of Hammurabi. But we don't have time to really get too deep into all that. But what can you briefly just say as far as the writ? Because I think you did mention it earlier, didn't you? Writ of mandamus.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, well, let's look it up. So writ of mandamus is a court order compelling a government official, lower court, or public entity to perform a mandatory, non-discretionary public duty that they are legally required to do,
I,
or stop performing an action.
oh. I wonder
Right?
if
Or
all
stop.
this is applicable here in Korea, where it's a Germanic based legal system, apparently, is what they had handed to them, along with the Prussian style um, education system, which is directly from the Rockefellers once again, as is what else? I mean, it's American Medical Association,
Yeah.
Psychiatric Association,
Yeah.
so much. So, and that's where
But
the
yeah.
Nazis got their whole eugenicist
Yeah. For
inspiration
sure.
from the
But we'll
Rockefellers in 1920s
Sure,
USA,
but we'll stick to because there's a little key thing here that's
right?
going to give people a bit of enlightenment.
Okay.
So it looks scary. The law is scary to people that don't know how it works. But you've got to understand that because all countries generally have a presumption of equality, even in socialism, equality means that the government is it may be adversarial, but it is equal to you. And so you have the unalienable right to contract. But if you don't know how to do that and stay in honor in a contract, then you won't understand the power of the rights that you have.
Hmm.
So go back to this writ of mandamus. So you'd read it and go, oh my God, it's telling me that it's mandatory, non-discretionary, public duty, legally required to do. Stop performing an action. Oh my God, how do I get out of this? It serves an extraordinary legal remedy. Well, what do you mean? Used when there's no other adequate legal process. Right. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Are you telling me I don't have the right to writ of mandamus? But hang on, they made it a mandate. Well, do I not have the right to writ of mandamus? Yes. Hey, if they can do it, you can do it. Show cause why I can't do it. Show cause why you got more sovereignty than me. See, if you don't know how you can create a capacity in the public that has authority, then you won't get anywhere. So, for instance, I mean, that's what I mean. You must know what's called jurisprudence. jurisprudence means that I would come in and make a question and say, "You don't mind if I am here of my full capacity, do you?" I'll start there in anybody's jurisdiction. You don't mind if I come at you, you don't mind if we do business and I'm in my full capacity, reserving my unalienable right to contract? See, there's a good start. What are
Uh-huh.
you going to say to that? Proof of claim that I don't have the unalienable right to contract. We'll go there. Now, I've done this with bankers and clerks and whatever, and they don't know what to do with that. They laugh and they go, okay, 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 we'll do it. What do you want to do? And I go, I'll be other. Let's start there. I'll go, did you notice my signature? Do you know what a signature with baggage is? Do you know what AR means on my signature? What's he going to say to that? He'll go, no. And I'll say, well, it means all rights reserved, or it means, um, well, we'll stick with that, or authorized representative. I could pick. I could say, do
Hmm.
you know that it means authorized representative? Now, if he says to me, you can't sign like that, well, I'll say, well, I already did. Proof of claim that I can't sign how I like to sign. And you can sign however you fucking want. Um, all my other documents have authorized representative. Do you want me to change it? Do you have the authority to make me change my signature? See, all of these things are traps for anybody that's going to fuck with me.
What
So
about
it's
when
like,
you
well,
what about when you sign with an X?
that is what a signature is. An X is just a signature. So in other words, if some courier guy dumps something on you, just do an X. He'll walk away because it's just a signature. What is a signature? It's a sign of your nature. Well,
But
what is your nature?
mhm.
It's the living man.
aren't
The
you
living
also
man.
aren't you also Xing yourself out of society?
No, because that's up to you to make that you have to. Okay, let's try and make that a matter of legal record.
Mhm.
I'm going to sign an X. Sir, do you know why I signed an X as my signature? Now, what are you going to say? No. And I'll say, well, according to my belief, hey, according to my belief, this X means that I'm exempt from society. Now, what are you going to say?
Well, I mean, who
What are you going to
knows?
say? See, yeah, well, come on, bring the Pope down here. I want to see if I can not sign how I want to sign.
Hmm.
See, so once you understand the way to question and the way to use lawful remedy and
Hmm.
law and how this thing works, you're not going to really get any traction. And there's magic in it, and they do it to you. And once
Hmm.
you see it, you'll see they're doing it to you, and then you can do it back to them. So back to the writ of mandamus means it's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you can try and force a contract on me, well, then I have the right to force my contract on you.
What
Now
what
where to go?
what world of wonderful weirdness or wonderful world of weirdness? Wow, what they have to say here regarding this is you have to file a court order first, is what they're claiming, and then secondly, writ of mandamus is a court order compelling a government official or entity to perform a required public duty or to cease an illegal action. So, is that true? You have to file a court order first, or no?
Well, what's a court? What's a court? A court is wherever a sovereign stands. So wherever I am, I'm in court.
Playing the game.
Don't talk about public courts as the word court because they are a maritime admiralty systematic court. They're a
Hmm.
corporation, and
Mm.
they are their own form of court. And as you know, there's tax court, there's family court, there's traffic court, there's all kinds of courts.
Hmm.
So don't presume that you need to. You can say, "What the hell court am I in here? Is it a kangaroo court?" See, so you court a woman. See, because you're courting.
Mm.
Court means that I am here and you're going to serve the ball to me as a person. I don't care what uniform you wear, and I'm going to serve the ball back to you in
You're
court.
you're trying to and courting a woman. You're trying to draw her in.
Yeah, well, you're courting it. She's making an offer. You're making an offer. You're
Hmm.
communicating, and
Hmm.
you're playing court. Yeah, you're
Hmm.
playing court,
Back and
and so
forth. Yeah.
it's a game of honor. See, if you lie, even Bob Dylan himself said that if you want to be an outlaw, this is Bob Dylan said this. He said, if you want to be an outlaw, you need to be honest, right? So that's it. So you don't lie. You got to be honest.
Did he
And
did
so,
he did he say that or did he sing it? One of his lyrics. One of the songs.
Or maybe both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh, and just finally, then, because you brought it up, your music career with Black Sabbath and so forth. Did you branch out a little more? Did you cover Dylan songs? Did you play originals? What other genres and
Yeah, we did a
sounds?
bit of writing. Yeah, we did a bit of writing. We did a bit of our own rock music, and we wrote a few things. It never really got anywhere. There's a bit of tension in the band
Ah,
a long time ago,
yeah.
and it kind of and these things happen, and so. But anyway, a lot of the venues disappeared because of the people crammed in the cities, and so they shuttled it down a lot of
Um,
venues.
well, I'm
So they
sorry
still have a
because
lot of venues.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
because what happened?
Oh, they shut down a lot of venues.
Yes,
Like they had so many venues in Auckland in the heyday.
too
I
many.
could do 3 or 4 gigs a week.
Oh,
3 or 4 gigs a week, just around local Auckland and a bit out of Auckland. I
gee.
could do. Yeah.
Was this largely catering to a tourist audience, or
Just
well,
that was the culture back then. That
so
was the
how did it
culture.
change? What happened?
Well, because people are crammed in the cities with their high tower buildings and shit, they would build a residential high tower buildings next to venues. Like there was the Glue Pot. If the people looking up, there's a classic, the Glue Pot, and
Yeah.
we played one of the last gigs at the Glue Pot before it shut down, and it was through people's complaints. Same with the King's Arms. We put a Judas Priest band together. That was cool. We found a singer that could sing Rob Halford, and there was two guitarists, me and my mate, and there was a bass player my other mate, and we all known each other for years. And we did a Judas Priest show. I've still got the video,
Huh.
and that was wicked, man. It was really cool. And then they shut that down. They shut that down. So
Well,
there's just less venues, and it makes it sucky because you can't really make a living.
was it and just largely a question of economics? I would imagine it's usually what it boils down to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that
so
too.
did you did you hear the recent? Speaking of Judas Priest, I know we have some fans in the audience. Did you hear the War Pigs cover that they recently released, and that was before Ozzy passed? And they said that the last concert he did, it was like he had the great fortune of attending his own funeral. You could see that he wasn't in the greatest shape, obviously. And then the comment I made on Twitter, I kind of regret. In some ways, it's like it was. Well, I was just I'm not sure if it may be a criminal necessary, but I was speaking the truth. It's like weekend at Ozzy's was what they had the group picture, and Ozzy, you could see he just didn't look well. I'm not sure if he's wearing a wig. His head was cocked over, and his body just really frail, and he suffered a lot. So I just really think, yeah, no more pain for Ozzy. Really, all you're left with is your consciousness. So, but the War Pigs cover, and did it really break your heart to find out? I guess that uh, Halford, what's his first name?
Yeah, Rob Halford. Yeah.
That he was that he was gay. Did that some
That, yeah, I mean, but that's his lifestyle.
exact?
I
Yeah.
just like their music. I like the
Mm-hmm.
lyrics. I like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's not an issue for me.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of controversy around that, but again,
Really.
each to their own. I just like the music.
I don't
Okay,
see why
I'm
it's
not
even
into their
controversial
personal shit.
this day and age. It's weird. You can tell what he's into. All the leather and
Right.
chains. It's like maybe it's not
Yeah, well,
such.
that's good for business. That's good for my business too. So, I don't have to get into their personal shit. But
I,
obviously, if they're committing heinous crimes that are true crimes, and that then obviously they're a bit of a thing that you might want to boycott. But you know, other than that, I just like the music.
it was, and the reason I asked you simply was because we had some people comment on that whole matter a couple of weeks ago, and they had it just this is one lady in particular as this one example of people who it just really kind of shook her worldview. She asked me, well, how would you feel if Van Morrison suddenly came out of the closet one day? Because I'm a big fan of the Belfast cowboy, Sir Ivan
Right.
George Morrison, and it just it didn't seem like it. It's an interesting question, but it's like he's been married like a couple times, got kids, and it just maybe wasn't the best question on the. And that's the thing, we need to ask the right questions, not just any question, but the good questions that are on the mark and on point. So, but yeah, and we can hopefully get up to speed in that capacity in with more of us dropping by your Discord channel as you suggested, and I'm looking forward to this. I think because we're only plugged into a few as it is right now, and I can guarantee you there will be a few of our listeners out there from this show who will be dropping by. So
Cool.
yeah,
No worries.
looking forward to that.
And I mean, if you want to do a show in the future, I'm always here. You get a feel for what I do now. I mean, we've only just scratched the surface. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of stuff that we could talk about that's
Uh-huh.
important.
I'll tell you
Mm.
what, we're gonna add you to the newsroom unless you object. But we do a news show once a week, and it's a roundtable kind of format and approach. And you're welcome to either accept the call through Teams or ignore it, to based on your level of interest and time schedule or what have you. That's what most other people do. But yeah, your contributions clearly very much appreciated. So on that note, uh, hope you have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch shortly.
Thanks a lot. It's been great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you need to do more of this. It's your voice is too important to to be silenced as it has been over the past little while. So keep at it, my friend.
Thank you.
Happy sailing.
You too. Thanks. I'll see
Yeah.
you next time.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. Cliff Rockafella, someone who, yeah, if it'll be interesting to see if he actually shows up to any of our weekly World Pirate Radio News invites, the roundtable format and approach that we have in place. Wow, hopefully everybody got a little something or another out of this conversation. Password along to your friends, family, and coworkers. Once again, if you reckon they themselves could stand to benefit or value, uh, find what we've covered here to be of any value. This is our value added content. So much of what we have here, obviously, outside the realm of what the mainstream sound bite, 30 seconds, if that sound bite, Mockingbird, the corporate outlets have to offer. So, uh, we will be back once again, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 on the East Coast, coming Tuesday evening. Wednesday here via noon, via the Tokyo and Seoul time zone. Remember to like, comment, share, hit subscription notification buttons, and if you would like to support us and help cover our basic operating expenses, something we always, unfortunately, uh, struggle to achieve. Hate to just keep running totally out of pocket, obviously, and in the red. Who the hell wants to be operating in the red? Get it? So, not us. But, yeah, Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com is our PayPal email address. Also, similarly, can be used if you have any show suggestions or guest ideas you'd like to bounce off of us. And be sure as well to check out the show description end of things. We have a Patreon presence, various places where we archive the shows, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey. If there's anything missing out you think we could add, definitely let us know. We're always on the hunt for creative minds, market marketers, and merchandise promoters, people who can help handle the web tech end of things. Although I must say, Sonia Galactic has been doing a hell of a job just on her own in that regard. So always great to build back better, build back bigger, build the better private public partnerships. Except if you're one of us, the little people. Das ist verboten, ja? Yeah. They don't like the idea of you pursuing such such enterprises as a where it can be a cooperative corporation or corporate cooperative. But essentially, that is the focus here. The guiding philosophy, hashtag WWRHD. What would Robin Hood do? Half of everything we generate going back to the grassroots, culminating, of course, each and every year with Operation Secret Santa, hashtag this year OSS 2025. That, of course, will be kicking off December 15th. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Once again, on behalf of Captain Long John Sinclair and all the rest of the crew here down in Skullport Harbor, until we meet again via these high, often all too intrepid digital seas, I'm your host, as always, Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder, reminding you, keep your ear to the ground and eyes to the sky. Tally-ho.
I know. There we be. Having carefully looked over each of our navigation panel instruments,
checking every level, switch, dial, cable, knob, and pulley, by all accounts and indications, we indeed see it's time, once again, to drop anchor inside Mystic Bay.
Draw an end to yet another week of World Pirate Radio Live.
Remember,
if you're looking for a little more animated online action,
keep in mind we've likely got yet another great free-flowing Rogues Gallery after show
coming up for the next hour in one of our more premium exclusive and remote digital underground online pirate hideaways. Also, if you yourself have a new,
novel, intriguing, or otherwise underreported idea, unique individual, or pressing item in mind, be sure to either drop us a line directly over on WPRPN.com or fire us a quick email
via Pirate One Radio at protonmail.com.
We're always open to exploring fresh creative suggestions, intriguing guest ideas, cutting-edge discussion topics, and captivating themes.
Remember, WPRPN.com member site subdomain links are also always available.
Great for artists, musicians, podcasters, bloggers, social media personalities,
or pretty much just any old landlubber
looking to boost their online visibility, presence, and reach.
Basic personal profile accounts can be launched for just $60 per year.
Staking your claim now helps not only strengthen you and the network, we're also looking out for the little guy. That's right, folks. As much as half of all WPRPN's profits are redirected right back into the hands of the people who really need it most. Community charity. After all, we are the Robin Hood.
You can further embark on your own personal pirate journey by either liking, sharing,
commenting on, subscribing to, or just following us via virtually any mainstream social media platform, including Twitter, Facebook,
Gab,
or Minds.com. So don't forget to become engaged. Until we meet again out on the high digital seas, I'm your host as always, the ship's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. Tally ho.